Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Sodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanacharinati Yamunatira Vanacharinati Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Sodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira vāna-chariti Yamunatira vāna-chariti Yamunatira vāna-chariti Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhu Jagataya Asatersa Srimad. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Kotavaisamani ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakura ki jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Prem Sigaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasati Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shiva Navandam ki jai, Shri Maya Panavidam ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Go Premanandi, all glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Which verse are we on? 5, 15, 11? 16. Okay, reading from the fifth canto, chapter 16, text number 11. Mandara miru mandara sapas vakumudha ityuta yojana vistha ronaha meros taturdisham avastambagiraya upaklupta. Mandara, the mountain named Mandara. Mirumandara, the mountain named Mirumandara. Suparsva, the mountain named Suparsva. Kumuda, the mountain named Kumuda. Iti, thus. Ayuta yojana vistara unnataha, which measured 10,000 yojanas high and wide. Meru, of Sumeru, Chatudisham, the four sides, Avastamba Giraya, mountains that are like the belts of Sumeru, Upakapa, situated. On the four sides of the great mountain known as Sumeru are four mountains, Mandara, Meru Mandara, Suparsva, and Kumuda, which are like its belts. The length and height of these mountains are calculated to be 10,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles. That's a big mountain. 80,000 miles. I think was it Mount Everest is like 20,000 feet, right? Yeah, so it's was it 26,000 feet? So that's about 6 miles, something like that. So here we have 80,000 miles. Okay, so we're going to do some reading here. This is next word. Standing like flagstaffs on the summits of these 4 mountains are a mango tree, a rose apple tree, a kadamba tree, and a banyan tree. Those trees are calculated to have a width of 100 yojanas, 800 miles, and a height of 1,100 yojanas, 8,800 miles. Now there's a tree up in the sequoias that's, what was it? It was 380 feet high. That's the highest tree on this planet. And here we have 8,800. That's a big tree. Their branches also spread to a radius of 1,100 yojanas. O Maharaj Parikshit, best of the Bharata dynasty, between these 4 mountains are 4 huge lakes. The water of the first tastes like milk, the water of the second like honey. Now it's not actually milk, it's not honey, but it tastes like milk, it tastes like honey. Interesting. And that of the third like sugarcane juice. The fourth is filled with pure water. The celestial beings, such as the Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas, who are also known as demigods, enjoy the facilities of those 4 lakes. Consequently, they have the natural perfections of mystic yoga. Such as the power to become smaller than the smallest or greater than the greatest. There are also 4 celestial gardens named Nandana, Chaityarat, Bhajaka, and Sarva-tobhadra. Text 15. The best of the demigods, along with their wives, who are like ornaments of heavenly beauty, meet together and enjoy within those gardens, while their glories are sung by lesser demigods known as Gandharvas. Text 16. On the lower slopes of Mandara mountain is a mango tree named Devachyuta. They named the mango trees. It is 1,100 yojanas high. Mangoes as big as mountain peaks and as sweet as nectar fall from the top of this tree for the enjoyment of the denizens of heaven. So 1,100 yojanas, that's 8,800, I guess that would be miles high. In the Vayu Purana purport, there is also a reference to this tree by great learned sages. Text 17. When all those solid fruits fall from such a height, they break, and the sweet, fragrant juice within them flows out and becomes increasingly more fragrant as it mixes with other scents. That juice cascades from the mountain in waterfalls of mango juice. Wouldn't that be cool? And becomes a river called a river of mango juice. Wow. You can dive in there, swim in the mango juice. Yeah. Called Arunoda, which flows pleasantly through the eastern side of Ilavrata. Pretty amazing, huh? Text 18. The pious wives of the yakshas act as personal maidservants to assist Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva. Because they drink the water of the river Arunoda, their bodies become fragrant, and as the air carries away that fragrance, it perfumes the entire atmosphere for 80 miles around. That's the result of eating a lot of, or drinking a lot of mango juice. Yeah, very fragrant. Text 19. Similarly, the fruits of the jambu tree, which are full of pulp and have very small seeds, fall from a great height and break to pieces. Those fruits are the size of elephants, and the juice gliding from them becomes a river named Jambu Nadi. This river falls a distance of 10,000 yojanas from the summit of Merumandara to the southern side of Ilavrata. Floods the entire land of Ilavrata with juice. Purport. We can only imagine how much juice there might be in a fruit that is the size of an elephant, but has a very tiny seed. Naturally, the juice from the broken jambu fruits forms waterfalls and floods the entire land of Ilavrata. That juice produces an immense quantity of gold, as will be explained in the next verses. So this one has a purport. Good size purport. The mud on both banks of the river Jambu Nadi, being moistened by the flowing juice and then dried by the air and the sunshine, produces huge quantities of gold called Jambu Nada. The denizens of heaven use this gold for various kinds of ornaments, and therefore all the inhabitants of the heavenly planets and their youthful wives are fully decorated with golden helmets, bangles, and belts, and thus they enjoy life. Purport. By the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the rivers on some planets produce gold on their banks. The poor inhabitants of this earth, because of their incomplete knowledge, are captivated by the so-called Bhagavan, who can produce a small quantity of gold. There's this one, they call him Sly Baba. He would produce gold. But then Prabhupada said, well, if he's able to produce gold, then why do they have a business? They had a business making money. But if they're producing gold, yeah, why have a business, right? So it's just cheating. And the Prabhupada also mentions that there's yogis that they drink mercury. The next morning they pass urine on copper, and that makes gold. And the devotee said, well, Prabhupada, why don't we manufacture in that way? And Prabhupada said, first drink mercury. You drink mercury, you're finished. Yeah. But yogis, they can do that. Drink mercury, it's like you're finished if you do that, unless you're a yogi. However, it is understood that in a higher planetary system, in this material world, the mud on the banks of the Jambu Nadi mixes with jambu juice, reacts with the sunshine in the air, and automatically produces huge quantities of gold. Thus the men and women are decorated there by various golden ornaments. And they look very nice. Unfortunately, on earth there is such a scarcity of gold that the governments of the world try to keep it in reserve and issue paper currency. Because that currency is not backed up by gold, the paper they distribute as money is worthless. But nevertheless, the people on earth are very proud of material advancement. In modern times, girls and ladies have ornaments made of plastic instead of gold. And plastic utensils are used instead of golden ones. Yet people are very proud of their material wealth. Well, the kings would use golden utensils, and they'd just in plates, and they'd throw them away after once, right? And then the others would just gather them. Amazing. Therefore, the people of this age are described as manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya yupatutaha. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1-10. In other words, they are extremely bad and slow to understand the opulence of the Supreme Personality Godhead. They have been described as sumanda matayo because their conceptions are so crippled that they accept a bluffer who produces a little gold to be God. Millions of them, 20 million people. And now there's supposed to be a reincarnation of Sai Baba in India. Also be very popular. It's amazing. Because they have no gold in their possession, they are actually poverty-stricken, and therefore they are considered unfortunate. Sometimes. These unfortunate people want to be promoted to the heavenly planets to achieve fortunate positions as described in this verse. But pure devotees of the Lord are not at all interested in such opulence. Indeed, devotees sometimes compare the color of gold to that of bright golden stool. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed devotees not to be allured by golden ornaments and beautifully decorated women. Na dhanaṁ, na janaṁ, na sundarīm, kabitang va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanīśvare bhavatād bhaktir ahaitukī tvayi. A devotee should not be allured by gold, beautiful women, or the prestige of having many followers. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore confidentially prayed, Mama janmani janmanīśvare bhavatād bhaktir ahaitukī tvayi. My Lord, please bless me with your devotional service. I do not want anything else. A devotee may pray to be delivered from this material world. That is his only aspiration. Ai nanda tanuja kinkaram patitang mam vishameva vambudhau kripaya tava padapankaja stitiduli sadva sambachintaya. The humble devotee prays simply to the Lord, kindly pick me up from this material world, which is full of varieties of material opulence, and keep me under the shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Narottama Dasa Thakura prays, Haha Prabhu nanda-suta vṛṣabhānu-sutā-yuta karuṇā karaha ei-bāra narottama-dāsa koya nat talile tvayi rāṅgā-pāya toma vina ke ache amara. O my Lord, O son of Maharaj Nanda, now you are standing before me with your consort, the daughter of vṛṣabhānu, Srimati Radharani. Kindly accept me as the dust at your lotus feet. Please do not kick me away, for I have no other shelter. Similarly, Prabhu Nanda Saraswati Thakur indicates that the position of the demigods who are decorated with golden helmets and other ornaments is no better than a phantasmagoria. Tri dasapur akasha pushpayate. A devotee is never allured by such opulences. He simply aspires to become the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. Om jnana tamarandasya jnanjana sadakaya chakshrunulitam jena tasmai Sri Gurave namaha mukam kotavachalam pangundam hayate gurim yat kripatadaham bande sugurum dinataranam vanchakalpatubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha paditanam bhavanevyo vaishnavevyo namo namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. There's a joke that one man asked God, God, what is a ton of gold to you? And God said, a penny. God, what is a billion years to you? A moment. God, can you give me a penny? In a moment. So this is the main reason, well, maybe not the main reason, but one of the big reasons that people approach God is in religion, there's wealth. And there was one businessman who was he tried different businesses and he was failing, and finally someone said, well, just start a religion. You'll be successful. And he did. And he became successful. So many new religions pop up every year throughout the world. It's amazing. And people get some lucrative money from that. So people, actually Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Vadha Bhajantem Jana Sukatirna Arjuna Artha Gigyasa Arthati Jnani Cha Bharatarsa, that there's 4 types of people who approach God, and one of them is wealth. People approach God for wealth. It's like there's this one person, Dhruva Maharaj. He was the son of a king, and he was there with his stepbrother, and his stepbrother got on the king's lap, but the king wouldn't let him on his lap. So he was quite upset about that. And his stepmother happened to be there, and she said, you can't get on his lap. If you want to get on his lap, then you gotta take birth from my womb. She was a little proud. In other words, he would have to die and take birth from her womb in order to sit on the king's lap. Yeah. So he was son of a kshatriya, so he was pretty upset. So he went to his mother's. Mata, I couldn't get on my father's lap because of this stepmother. What did I do? And she said, well, pray to God. Oh, where do I find God? Back then, they would go to the forest, yogis and sannyasis, they would go to the forest. So she said, well, people go to the forest. Just a 5-year-old boy. So he had this great determination. He went to the forest and he's praying to God. And his intention, he wanted to have a kingdom greater than that of Lord Brahma. He was meditating. He was meditating. And then was it Narada Muni? The Narada Muni, he got wind of this. Narada Muni is a transcendental, amazing personality. So he arrived there. I said, what are you doing? You're just a child, Don't be so upset about this, Just go play, You're taking this too seriously. And Dhruva said, well, thanks for the advice, but if you can't help me, then please, be on your way. So he gave him a mantra to chant. What was the mantra? A very familiar mantra we chant. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Very powerful mantra. So he chanted this mantra. And he was a powerful personality. So he would engage in austerity. And what was it? I think the first 3 days he would just open the door. The first 3 days he would just have some fruit. Every 3 days he would have some fruit. And then the next 6 days, every 6 days, he would have some dry leaves, some berries. And then it was every 12 days, he would have some. He would just drink some water like that. It's very austere. And then he was just taking air eventually. And he was such a powerful personality that he was suffocating the universe. And the demigods went to Lord Brahma, you know, what's all this? What's going on here? And he said, "Oh, it's okay. I'll work. It's Dhruva." So eventually, Lord Vishnu appeared, and he was so pleased with him. But Dhruva, he was a little ashamed because he was approaching God with a material purpose. He wanted a kingdom. So he was a little embarrassed. And he said, "Kachen viching vang api divya ratnang svamin kvaratosi vanam nayache." He said, I was praying to you to get this opulent kingdom. But now I consider that opulence is like broken glass. Imagine that. You know, the most opulent facility practically in the universe, and he just considered to be broken glass compared to the pleasure that he was receiving from serving Krishna, thinking of Krishna and serving Krishna. Yeah. So people, they're attracted to, welcome. They're attracted to opulence, to money and opulence, and people approach God for that purpose. And Prabhupada tells of one instance of an elderly lady. She was walking and she was carrying some goods on her head, and it fell. And she was elderly lady, so she couldn't pick it up and put it on her head. She's praying to God. God, please, God, please. She's praying fervently, very sincerely to God. Then finally Krishna appears. And he says, "Yes, I'm Krishna. What is it you want?" "Oh, please, Krishna, can you put this on my head, please? Can you put this baggage and this luggage on my..." "Oh, yeah, okay." Put it on her head, and he left. So we should not be like that. She can get anything from Krishna, but she just asked to have this put on her head. And there's one story in India of one Indian businessman. He was, it was big business, and he was going up in the ranks, and there were some other employees that were trying to bring him down. And he was thinking, I gotta figure out some way to stop my enemies. What to do? So then he thought of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is about Krishna and Arjuna fighting off enemies. So he said, I'll read the Bhagavad Gita, and that'll give me some guidance on how to stop my enemies. So he's reading the Bhagavad Gita, and he gets, he finishes the chapter 2, and he's thinking, that's kind of interesting. He gets to chapter 3. This is actually very interesting. He finishes chapter 4, and he just decides this material opulence is useless. And he became a devotee. He quit that job, started his own business, and became successful. So he approached Krishna for some material purpose, to win over his enemies. But upon reading the Bhagavad Gita, he understood that my real enemy is my own mind, my senses. So he became a devotee of Krishna. So Dhruva also, he had this desire to get material opulence, but he got the greatest opulence Just like Lord Chaitanya, when he was speaking to Ramananda Roy, Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Roy, what is the greatest wealth? Anybody remember? The greatest wealth is devotional service to Krishna. This is the greatest wealth. Yeah. And Krishna comes to give us this wealth. He comes and he gives us the Bhagavad Gita. And we get the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he sends his pure devotee. In so many ways, Krishna comes to help us. It's like we've all heard of guardian angels. I have a good friend of mine. He said, "Vijay, you're my guardian angel." So people have guardian angels, you know. People that like to help them. People like to help them a lot. So the supreme guardian angel is Krishna, because he's always thinking of everyone's welfare. He's always thinking of how to help. Actually, Prabhupada even says in one purport, he says, Krishna is never inattentive in his delivering the conditioned souls. He's always thinking of our welfare. He wants us to go back home. So this is the kindness of Krishna. But there's people that don't know the greatness, the glories of Krishna. And therefore they're attracted to these things in this world, material wealth. It's like Prabhupada also tells of a story of a thief who was in one village. And as he was going through the village, he saw there was some satsangam going. There was a teacher there. He's speaking from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So he thought, let me sit and hear what he has to say. So in India, even sometimes the thieves are pious, you know. Thought he'd sit down and hear what the sadhu has to say. So he's sitting and he's listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And this speaker, he mentions how Krishna, he's in Vrindavan. And Krishna, he's decorated with many jewels. And the thief's thinking, well, if I just go to Vrindavan and I find Krishna, I'll get his jewels and then I'm set for life. No worries. The common saying in Australia, no worries, mate. So he just thought, no worries. I'll get the jewels from Krishna and I'll be set. So he goes to Vrindavan and he's calling out, Krishna, oh Krishna, 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 Krishna. He's calling out Krishna and then Krishna comes. Yeah, I'm Krishna. Oh, Krishna, you're very attractive. You're very beautiful. You're so beautiful that you don't need those jewels. Anyway, you're just a young boy. You don't need these jewels. Can you give me your jewels? Krishna said, oh, no. If I give you my jewels, my mother will be very upset with me. And he said, nah, your mother has so many jewels. Oh, no. My father also, he'll be very upset with me. I can't give you my jewels. So he's trying to flatter Krishna in so many ways to get the jewels. He's trying and Krishna, oh, I can't give you my jewels. And finally, Krishna could see he's become purified because he's chanting Krishna and now he's seeing Krishna. And finally Krishna said, okay, you could have my jewels. But then the thief said, no, Krishna, I don't want your jewels anymore. You've captured my heart. I don't want your jewels. Now I just want to serve you. So this is what happens when we come in contact with Krishna. Yeah. In any way someone comes in contact with Krishna, they get purified. Yeah. Even thieves, yeah, they get purified. There's one story of somewhere in Europe, the thief was at a house, and he was in there to steal. And while he was in the house, he heard a car drive up. So he thought, I better get out of here. So thought, I got to steal something. He hadn't gotten anything yet, so he saw the book. So he just grabbed the book, and he left. And then he gets home and he reads it, and eventually he became a devotee. So lucky thief. So this is the mercy of Krishna, that people approach Krishna for different reasons. Like there's people, they approach Krishna because chaturvatha bhajante mam. They want some wealth, or they're distressed. Many people come to God because they're distressed. A lot of people search for God because they're distressed. Yeah. So this is a blessing in disguise. People, this material world is dukkhalayam asasvatam. It's a place of suffering. So naturally, in a place of suffering, there's going to be some distress. And that's when people call out. They call out to Krishna for some help. And Krishna, he helps. Yeah. So it's a blessing in disguise. So they come because they're distressed, because they want money. Artha, Gigyasa, people are sometimes inquisitive. They want to know if there's a God or not. So they inquire. It's like sometimes I meet atheists, and I tell them, a sign of intelligence is that you inquire, you look. I mean, there may be a God. You don't know. There may be a God, so you should search. You should try to find out. Inquire. Yesterday I was distributing books, and I offered books to this Indian couple, and they said, "Nah, we're not interested in all this." And I said, "Well, what do you believe? What's your belief?" "Nothing." "We don't believe in nothing." I said, "Well, that's a belief too. To believe in nothing is a belief. But you go nowhere with a belief like that." Of course, they just left, atheists. I see Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was still preaching in India before he came to the West, I was shocked to hear this. He said 80% of India is atheist. Even back then. What to speak of now? The Western influence is moving in so quickly. So, people come here to be God, not to serve God. So people come because they're inquisitive. People come because they're looking for knowledge of God. And Krishna says that these are the ones that are most dear to me, that they actually want to know about God. Yeah. This is rare. This is very rare, to find people that are inquisitive about God. And there's people out there like that, and therefore we go out on book distribution. We go out and preaching in so many ways to find those people that are interested in knowing more about God. We have so much information about God. Yeah, it's like when I read the Bhagavad Gita, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah, I grew up a Christian, and there's very little information about God in Christianity. So when I read the Bhagavad Gita, I was like, wow, now here's some real information about God. And then when I got to the temple, then they introduced me to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Like, whoa, it's like, wow. Overwhelming information about God. And then there's the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and there's the Nectar of Devotion. So much information about God. So he comes for this purpose. He comes to reveal His wonderful pastimes, to give us knowledge of Him, so that we can be attracted to Him again. Just like before Hawaii became very famous, it was just an island out there in the Pacific. It was just like there's so many islands, thousands of islands in the Pacific. But some businessmen got together and they thought, well, let's do some advertisement about Hawaii. And they did. And now it's one of the most famous states in the whole country, Hawaii. People go to Hawaii on vacation. So they did some advertisement. So Krishna comes and He advertises for the spiritual world. It's better than Hawaii. Much better than Hawaii. In Hawaii, there's still birth, death, old age, and disease. And there's I was speaking to one nice man in the Miami airport. He had come from Brazil to go to Hawaii to ride the waves, to surf on the waves in Hawaii. And he said that the natives there, they were beating me. They would beat him. He said, these are our waves. You go back to your country. Don't come and try to ride our waves. A little possessive of their waves. So, and another friend of mine, he was in Miami for many years. He went to Hawaii because the ex-president of Miami, he went to Hawaii, became the president there. And he was on the beach one time, and natives, they came and they just beat him up. Really bad, just beat him up real bad. He was not a big guy, he's a skinny guy. But the natives, they just came and beat him up. Yeah. So Hawaii isn't all what it's said to be. There's a lot of problems in Hawaii, a lot of violence. Yeah. But in the spiritual world, no violence, except for when Krishna, he play fights. Sometimes he play fights with his friends, and sometimes he loses. He even loses sometimes. So there's no anxiety in the spiritual world. So Krishna comes and he advertises for Vaikuntha, no anxiety. Why stay in this place? Tamasima Jyotirgama. Why stay in this place where there's so much ignorance? Mrityuma Gamatama. Why stay in this place where there's death? Go to a place there's no death, there's no old age, there's no ignorance, there's no police, there's no sirens. Like here, I sleep here near the front of the building. So many sirens. Unfortunately, we have the fire station down the street. There's no fires, no emergency vehicles, no anxiety. The spiritual. So Krishna comes and he advertises, and we're his employees. We go out on book distribution, and we're Krishna's employees, helping Krishna advertise for the spiritual world. And some people, they appreciate the advertisement and come and participate. So this is Krishna's mercy. This is what makes him the supreme guardian angel, the supreme person. This word supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. You know what that means? It means the supreme person, the most wonderful person. It used to be the longest word in the world. It means the greatest person, the most wonderful person. So that's Krishna. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That's Krishna. Alice in Wonderland. I never thought I'd use that word in class. So any questions? Yes, we have a question by Dimitri Prabhu.
it's more of a comment. You were saying about people from India being atheistic, 80%, and they come here to enjoy. And I was here in Mahotsaha's class yesterday when he was in LA, and he was saying that he came to LA to take part in that degradation, you know, like to indulge in drinking and intoxication. And he was trying to explain that the karma of an Indian person, of somebody from India, is so different that it doesn't let you enjoy. and once he was in New York City in town, just doing something, and he hears the cartels playing. So he walks to the people playing, and he saw the devotees. And at that time, he realized that I can't really enjoy. And here I have to become a devotee, one of them.
Yeah. So many Indians come here to become prosperous, enjoy material life. And then they meet devotees and they become devotees here. They weren't devotees there, but they come to America and they become devotees. Like thousands of them. You too? Yeah, we have one right here. Prakash. They come here and they get a book or they see the Harinam and get prasadam, and because it's just like Prabhupada said, it's hard to wake up a person who's pretending to sleep. So in India, there's so much poverty there, and they think, oh, go to the West, and then there's so much enjoyment, but then they're not happy, they're not enjoying, and then they get a book, and then it's like an amazing story. Is this lady, she was pregnant. And she thought, what am I going to do? Her husband's working and she's there and pregnant, just laying around. So she sees the Bhagavad Gita there on the bookshelf, and she goes, well, now I got some time to read, let me just sit and read it. So she read the Bhagavad Gita all the way through, and she told her husband, this Bhagavad Gita, this is amazing. I had no idea how profound this book is. I never read it before. She's a Hindu. And then she said, you should read it. And then he read it and said, yeah, you're right, this is great. So they went to the temple there and met the devotees. I think it was Washington, D.C. But then he had to, due to his work, he was sent to Boise, Idaho. There's no temple there. And they thought, well, let's start our own temple. So there's a temple there to this day. It's been there for 20 years or more. Maybe I was there back in 94, so yeah, about 30 years. They've had a temple there. So they came just, enjoy material life and read the Bhagavad Gita and making devotees. Both their sons are they graduated from Oxford University, and wonderful, wonderful, wonderful devotees. Yeah. So, yeah, Krishna has his tricks up his sleeve, Oh, you want to come here and enjoy? All right, come, try to enjoy. And they get frustrated. Oh, by the way, here's some good information for you about me. Guardian angel. Krishna's helping us. All of us. But we have to want the help also. Anything else? Anything on Zoom? Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.